welcome to NFT Community Service Hour. So I am confirmed for NFT Tallinn. That's going to be in 3 weeks. So that's in Estonia. Come see me in Estonia. That's going to be great. We're going to have workshops, panels, talks. This is a very, I don't get to go to a lot of events, so I'm going to do this one. And so if you're interested and you can get to Estonia, do it, because this is going to be a good event. I'll be at Emerging Technology for the Enterprise. This is in Philadelphia, sponsored by Chariot Solutions. My speech here is going to be related to infrastructure. How do you set up infrastructure for blockchain projects? A lot of people do it wrong. If you're thinking about doing something more than a hobby, making a serious project, come see this speech. So NFT Tallinn, Philadelphia, and then NFT NYC. Cool. All right, give me another sec, Bruno. So Bruno, for your airdrop, what we're talking about for NFTs, are you talking about claiming the NFTs, or are we talking about you dropping it and then they getting it immediately? Cool. So if it's claimable, you can do it on Ethereum because you're not paying the gas. So you do it on Ethereum, and permissionless, no, it's not going to happen. So what you have to do is you have to make a list. There's some tools for this. Do I have the tool here? There's two tools that I wanted to mention. Can't find them right away. One of them allows you to create access lists. And so that actually creates the list itself. And the second tool allows you to make a list of everybody who owned certain NFTs on OpenSea. So this is the Lux tokens. So basically, what the strategy you use is you go look at the history of OpenSea, you find anybody who traded, and then you put them on a list. And then you run this list. You create it one time, and then it's permissionless from then. Make it auditable. You publish the list, and then people can claim. So people then have to come get. Now, if you're talking about dropping an NFT, that's tough because you're making your own collection of NFTs. Maybe it's pictures of mugs, dad mugs, right? So you get a bunch of dad mugs. Real alpha on this phone call. So you get a bunch of dad mugs, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million of them. And then you give them out to all the people who transferred anything on OpenSea, and they have to come claim it. So a few things. One, some people might have done related transactions where they take one NFT and cycle it to a lot of people. And if that's the case, you've got one person that's got 100 addresses. And they're all going to get an NFT. And then one whale who did 1 million things on OpenSea only gets one NFT, whereas somebody who did a cycle, they're going to get 10 NFTs. Now, LuxRare solves this problem because they give you fungible tokens and they give you more tokens based on the value of the things you transferred. So it's easier, it's probably more fair the way that if it's a fungible token. But nevertheless, so you've got your dad mug pictures, you got 1 million of them, and then you want to give one per person, do it. So if it's claimable, you put it on Ethereum. It would probably be the largest airdrop on Ethereum. It would have to be claimable. The second way to do it is that you mint 1 million different tokens. This is obviously going to cost a lot of gas. And this is something that you should study, Arch-O. Let me tell you how that worked. Arch-O minting airdrop. This is the approach they used. Well, James, if you're around, let me know this article. James wrote the article on how to very efficiently airdrop a lot of tokens. So this is something he and I talked about. He implemented it, did a great job, and he selected the people he would airdrop to, the people that owned Charos. So if you owned a Charo and you got an Arch-O, and it was very efficient. Now you can do this on Polygon, and you could scale this to everybody who's ever owned an NFT. You can find anyone who's ever owned an NFT, and you can airdrop them another NFT. This is also called spamming. So if you log into your Etherscan account, so here's me, and you click on this thing, here are all the tokens that people have sent to me. So give you my address. Right, so send tokens here. So you send me any token, and then it's going to show up on this list of just stuff in this pile. So like ENS tokens, I don't know if I claimed those or I just got them. Amber, like I never bought an Amber token, but whoever this Amber person is decided that I was notable enough that they wanted to give me a 0.01 so that I would spend these 10 seconds telling you about it. Actually, these are a legit thing that I have. I met the guy at a conference. CryptoVoxel, that's a good one. So some of these I recognize, but some of them like Kick token. So look what this person did. So here's Kick token. And so you can see that on one day, they just sent out a massive number of tokens. Contract. Can I get the events? What I'm trying to tell you is nothing interesting is happening here. Somebody just created a bunch of tokens and gave them out. And the spam result is that when you open Etherscan, you see it. So if that's what you're doing, then some people might block your token from showing up. They don't want to see it because it's spam. Is this me? No. You got a bunch of other crap there. So your proposal here is just to be another one of these piles of tokens that everybody will have. And you can do that. I have an engine token. I don't even know what that is. I'm not even sure if this is the right engine token. Probably not. So there you go. So yes, you can mint. You can give the tokens to anybody who's ever owned an NFT on OpenSea. You can spam them, so it'll show up in their inbox on Etherscan or Polyscan. Or you can make it mintable. And if it's mintable, you can also make it time limited. So they have to get it by a certain time or they don't get it. Or you can even make it, might be more fun if you made it like limited time, but they had to pay for it. So like if you get it in the next 3 weeks, you get it for free. But if you get it later, you have to pay 0.01 Ether for it. And then a month later, it's 0.01 Ether. And then it's 0.1 Ether. And then it's 0.1 Ether. Like it just goes up super fast so that people could buy it. But there's kind of an incentive to get it early. Because the goal here isn't to just give people tokens. That's boring. The goal is for you to get awareness around your product. And so you want people to be interacting with your product, not just having it spammed onto their list. Permissionless, Polygon. Yeah, so Polygon you can do claimable. So you can do claimable on Polygon or Ethereum, either way. If your thing is, basically you want to think, typically the advice between Ethereum and Polygon is your thing going to be valuable? Put it on Ethereum. It's going to be cheap, put it on Polygon. That's one heuristic. And yes, you can put these things on Polygon. Actually, what I should do is I should see if anybody has already done this before for me. So I go get my address here. Here's my address. This is called Polygon scan. All right. Paste in my address. And then, so this is me. I'm not active on Polygon. I might have done one thing. I don't think I'm involved with any of these things. And so somebody found my address and then dropped these things on me. So this is what you're proposing to do. So this contract here is some type of a thing. Minarium World Metaverse, which I'm pretty sure is not a thing that I got. And then we can go to find the transfers. And so there's 100,000 transfers. So somebody's just dropping these things left and right. So that's probably what they did too. So the idea that you had is probably implemented here. Recommended storage for the solution for the image URL. Great question. So there's different ways to store images. One of them is the classic way, the insecure way. This is what SuSquares does. And also, the benefit is that this will work with Twitter. So I'm not sure if everything else works with Twitter, but here's 10,000 Su. And so there's a ERC 721 slash. So here's one of them. So here's the square. And this image is stored on a web server. So what I do here is I have this software. Get pull force. Damn it. Okay, just open the README. So basically what I do here is when somebody buys a SuSquare, I have to run this code here. And the result is that it's going to update my computer with this new image. So I'm going to generate this image. It's an SVG, it's a PNG file. And then I upload this to GitHub Pages. And this is going to be where the image lives. So this is centralized. This is centralized. Now, the pixels themselves are stored on blockchain. That's decentralized. And in fact, I could make an adapter that creates all these images on blockchain as SVG, as PNG files. The reason why I didn't do that in 2018 is because the ERC 721 standard does support this, but I thought this was some nerd stuff that nobody else would support. And that is the case because Twitter still doesn't support SVG, which it should. So, I kind of wanted to take a conservative approach with SuSquares because I knew a lot of people were going to copy that approach. And so this uses centralized. For today, is this something you want to do? Maybe. You've really got to understand your audience and why you're selling your NFTs. For SuSquares, and a very important thing for me was that this was going to be compatible with all the stuff that's out there. That was the goal. Nothing was compatible. That's the whole reason I got involved with NFT, with ERC 721, is to create a compatible ecosystem, right? So SuSquares, the goal was to be compatible. A centralized solution on a web server, compatible with everything. If your solution, if decentralization, which isn't even a thing, but some decentralization is important to you, then you might want to consider IPFS. Don't consider Arweave. Don't consider proprietary solution. Don't consider Filecoin. Consider IPFS. It's perfectly good enough. So you can store your files on IPFS, which effectively just replaces BitTorrent. I don't even know why we use BitTorrent anymore. But you put it on IPFS, and then you can get the link into your NFT, and it's going to work. There's different bridges you can use, and the performance might be or might not be as good as you can get with static CDN hosting. But that's what we're doing nowadays. I mean, nowadays, we're going to be, there's a lot more people doing IPFS. There's good reasons for that. So just try it. Can you do polygon claimable, send tokens? Recommended storage solution. Cool. What do you think about listening to transfer events with a centralized indexing services to emulate 720 functionality off-chain with 1155? Yes, this is what people are doing. Unfortunately, because it's not the simplest thing in the world to set up an indexer, nearly everybody is using the centralized service provided by OpenSea, which is a shame. So if you're using an OpenSea, for example, Twitter uses OpenSea. When you open the NFTs on Twitter, it's pulling OpenSea, getting the API call, and whatever OpenSea says you own, you own. That's not ideal. I mean, ideally we would have a nice open source indexer. We actually started writing one of these with Xerox Cert. The project was abandoned. I don't know if they released that or not. But yeah, I would like to create an indexer that's just open source and teach people how to use that. That's on my bucket list. And my bucket list, we'll get to that in a minute too. But yeah, that's on my list. That's something that more people should be running indexers, really is the problem. Now, the major concern with 1155 is it's missing the major feature, which is who owns this token. You don't know who owns the token with 1155 unless you use an indexer, which you have to go find the most recent event. So that's kind of a shame. It's not really a shame. That's just a design choice that they made. So they're not NFTs. 1155s are not designed for NFTs. They're designed for many fungible tokens in games. And so that's why they don't have that feature, which is fine. Yeah, cool. So yeah, indexers is how you work with 1155. Now 721, you can actually work with 721s without an indexer because the blockchain has the function, who is the owner of this NFT? And you can query it that way. Regarding the infrastructure speech that I'll give in Philadelphia next month, that's one of the topics that I'm talking about is how much of the responsibility should be from the client connecting to the blockchain versus your static application versus your indexer. How much authority should be given to these different endpoints, and where's the responsibility for these actions that are happening? And that's something, there's a lot of different ways people are doing it, and you want to carefully choose these things because it's more semantic. It's more about why are you doing this? Just like if you're launching an NFT project, you should think about who owns what. And you're like, well, does that really matter? The smart contract's the same. Yeah. The application's the same. Yeah. But the difference is Bored Ape Yacht Club sold for hundreds of millions, and then yours sold for thousands of dollars. And the difference is because Bored Ape Yacht Club, they put on there specifically that if you own the ape, you're allowed to make derivative commercial products from it. Whereas your website doesn't say that. But the fact that you have commercial reusage, that's a licensing issue, that's important. I saw this on Twitter today. How do you solve for some bad actor airdropping NFT to somebody that, for example, contains the home address and personal info of them and their children? The answer is you don't. So let's go do that right now. What happens if we put private information on Ethereum? Okay, so one way that we could do this. So here's how you could do that. So here's my website. Give me money. Okay, at the bottom, I have this button called Send a Tip. And so what you do is you click on this button, you click this button called Send Tip, and you get to type a message. So, yo, sup? I'm going to receive Ether. And that message will be here permanently on the blockchain. Whatever you type, I can't censor it. And so it'll show up here. So here's another blockchain message, transaction. And then you can attach whatever text you want into it. And so the question here is, some bad actor could send me, this transaction and put the address of my kids here, and so they could dox me and that would be public. And there's nothing I can do about that. There is something I can do about that. Maybe if you publish something that's illegal to publish, like images that are not legal to publish or links to websites that are illegal to link to, and that's even a gray area, then what I would have to do is I would have to call Etherscan and I would have to sue them in Malaysia to remove the content from their website. Remember, these websites are all centralized. So I'd have to call each one of these websites and I could have it removed. Just like if there's MP3s that are listed on Google, they have robots that send a DMCA request to take down these music that's linked on Google. Would you agree that the prevalence of ransomware is largely due to the business model being enabled for cryptocurrency? Largely enabled. Yeah, I have to say yes to that. Another thing that enables ransomware is that, if I send money to Al Qaeda, if I go on Al Qaeda's website and I click on send money to Al Qaeda, I'll probably go to jail. I'll be on the news. Will sent money to Al Qaeda. FBI will be here. They'll knock on my door. But if I'm a CEO that works for a major energy company and a ransomware who's worse than Al Qaeda, maybe, and may be affecting many more lives than Al Qaeda is currently, and if I send money to them as payment for unlocking my files, I don't go to jail. That's a big enabler. Companies are allowed to fund terrorist activity and get away with it without any penalty. So perhaps one might disagree and think hackers could find another solution to support their business model. Either way, what kind of regulations or technical safeguards do you think could reduce crypto's role in the ransomware industry? This is easy. So I don't think the regulations are required. I think it's the enforcement that's swiftly to blame. So here's my official response to your question. So this guy, Joseph Blount from Colonial Pipeline, they got ransomed, and then he paid it. And then there's a nice graphic for this too. Snowball. There's a nice graphic. Where is this? There's some malware. Somebody paid for it. They executed it, and now they attacked Colonial Pipeline. Now Colonial Pipeline is paying them for the malware. They're paying the ransom. So now this group has more resources to attack a larger target. So previously they only had thousands of dollars. Now they have millions of dollars. So now they can attack governments. And then when the government pays the ransomware, then they'll have billions of dollars. And then they can use it to take over bigger governments. So the snowball graphic is very appropriate. As these people are paying the ransom, they're increasing the capability of the ransomware deployer. All right, so let's get into a little bit of hacking. So normally this is the time of day where you watch me hack a couple things, and I want to show you that you can participate too. And these are really easy things. DevToolgan had a great idea, and so we wanted to find a way to identify existing problems that we can fix that are easy. So let me show you how to do this. And if you're interested, anybody can jump in and take on one of these issues. So here's how you do it. Go on GitHub, Ethereum, Solidity, get the repo, clone it. There. Okay, and then open in VS Code. You should have code installed. VS Code is a great editor for programming. And I've got these special regexes that you can do to find. So you want to have this open, this style guide open, and you want to have this open. It's the bottom on the list, the link that I just gave you. And this will show you how to identify some of the problems in the Solidity project. So here's an easy one. What you do is you take what I have, you copy it, and you go to over here, you search all the files, you paste it in here, and you turn on regex, like this. And so here's a violation. So this one is missing something. It's missing is this line of code called SPDX. So go look up what that means, and then fix this line of code here. And then you've got a minimal contribution that you can contribute. So if you'd like to make a pull request, if you know how to use Git and GitHub and you want to make a pull request, go ahead and make your pull request and then tag me on fulldecent, at fulldecent. You tag me there. I will review your code. Even though it's only one line of code, do it. You'll get one line of code in. This actually has an SPDX, but it's not in the right spot. So you can just move it to the right spot, and real easy. Yeah, so you can change this. I've actually got a bunch of them. Some of them require you to manually review the results. Here's one. Here's an issue. So this is breaking a specific rule. You can go figure out which rule it is. You can read the notes here, and you can fix it. You can fix this one. Ideally, you want to fix all of them at once in one commit. And again, tag me. I'll read it. I'll get notified if you tag me, give you some feedback, and then we can get these things committed. So if you're interested to contribute, read this stuff, and maybe I can make some more after these are done. So thanks for the idea, DevToolgan. All right. I just wanted to show you how to pull it up. I actually didn't want to fix these because they're so easy that I thought if somebody's looking to find somewhere to get started, this would be a really great place to get started. These ransomwares are building reputations. Every time you pay them and you get unencrypted, the newspaper says they paid the money and they got unencrypted. No big deal. They kept their job. They didn't go to jail, right? Every time that happens, we are reinforcing to the public that paying ransomware is a low-risk, legal way to solve a problem with a small amount of money. Yep, and that's where we are. So the solution is simple. Just put those people in jail. Put the first one in jail for 6 months, give them a third-degree felony, 6 months, and then give the next one 2 years, and then see how fast ransomware just disappears because nobody's paying for it because they don't want to go to jail for supporting terrorists.